Hello everyone, welcome back for some more Let's Read Fate Labyrinth. We're on Act 5 of about 6 from what I'm gathering, which means that we're getting to the end. So we'll see where we go. We've changed our main character, which is such an interesting idea. To have your character just change, like you were powerful and now it's gone. Like that's actually a really cool third act twist. I actually kind of love it, right? What a subversion of expectations. So, let's get going. Also, Gray's with us. Hey, Gray, can I ask you something? Yes. That voice that was talking a lot earlier, that wasn't you, was it? It wasn't me. Oh, I see. Yeah, I kind of figured as much. A momentary pause. The length of time didn't bother me much. Yes, she said from beneath her hood. The Ashen girl gave a slight nod. Remaining as we're just not gonna go on with it? Okay. Oh, is she not good at reading the room at all? Oh, okay. We didn't know where we were headed. Ultimately, all I wanted was survival and to escape the labyrinth. Well, she wanted to investigate and then escape. At face value, our goals overlapped, so we could work together in that sense. But she was... I think it's funnier to be like this. But she was probably a heroic spirit. The mysterious voice that echoed from her weapon, it had to be some kind of noble phantasm or skill. The kind of escape that I wanted, just getting out of the 7th labyrinth of Alcatraz no matter what, was probably different from what Gray had in mind. I suspect that for her, escape would refer to breaking free of the subspecies Holy Grail's constraints and removing the limitations placed on her as a servant. But as I kept opening my lips to speak, I kept finding it difficult to confirm any of this. I hesitated to put it into clear words. I let the situation lull me into complacency. The succession of spacious areas that looked as if a natural cave had crystallized. It could almost be called a singular straight passageway. It winded back and forth so many times that it definitely wasn't a straight line, and given its structure that prevented me from seeing what lay ahead, I hesitated to call it a one-way path. At the very least, in the hour or so since Gray and I had met, we hadn't come across a single fork in the path. All we could do was follow the path in front of us. That situation, where we had no choice but to keep moving forward, was one I found myself taking advantage of. There was no point in turning back. I'd already tried that. I checked the spot where she said that she fell. Period. It was about 50 meters behind where I fell. Moreover, the crystalline cave ended right there. The only way forward was the path before our eyes. The 4th floor. The final stage of the labyrinth. Since we had to be below that, I guess I could call the cave we were in the 4.5 floor. I had fallen all the way down. If that odd male voice was to be believed, Gray must have fallen the same way. I stole a quiet glance at her as she walked beside me. Her profile, even though it was shadowed by her hood, the line from her nose to her chin was illuminated by the faint light emanating from the cave walls, so I could make out her features. She had a pretty face. Yes, She had the delicate charm of a girl her age. She was taller than both Manaka and myself, but her features made me wonder how old she really was. If I had to compare her to one of the people I'd met recently, yeah, it'd have to be the one with the holy soul. Just as I was thinking so, I looked at the Ashen girl again. Wait, what? The words slipped out of my mouth before I could hope to stop it. What? Gray turned to look at me. I rushed to shake my head, saying, "Oh, it's nothing." I'd almost let my guard down, so I refocused on the space ahead of us. Even so, since I'd already recognized the girl's appearance, I could recall it by searching my memory. Oh, you just have... I guess, photographic memory, just randomly. Cool. Hey, are my eyes broken again? What's going on with that? Why are my eyes doing this? What's going on? That's been very weird. Okay. Okay, it does that when I press, because I have a shortcut for that. But why does it do that? I'm sorry if my eyes have been weird this whole time. Just think that they've been closing. Yeah, just think they've been closing. Anyways, I recall it by searching through my memory. Yep. I knew it. That was why I let out that strange noise. Without me noticing, the large scythe in her hand had vanished. Even though it was so massive, it was nowhere to be seen. Dematerialized, maybe? Could it be some sort of ability? I think I'd seen Saber and the other servants do it before. The presence of her invisible sword shrouded in a wind noble phantasm suddenly vanishing. Assassin's dirk vanishing and reappearing at his waist. Okay, we did vanishing twice. Do we got synonyms? Is there a synonym function? There's not. Okay, let's get a synonym for vanish. Synonym for vanish. Disappear, dissipate, evanesce. I'm not going to use that, but that's crazy. Let's just go. Well, I don't like dissipate, because dissipate has a visual to it, right? Let's see here. Dematerialize. That's a good one there. Dematerializing and reappearing at his waist. Oh, well, no. Because if it disappears, maybe evaporates, right? Assassin's dirk evaporating and reappearing at his waist. Not really evaporate. What would be a good word for this? Dematerializing isn't bad. Withdrawing, you know what? Dissipating is also fine here. Yeah, I kind of like dissipating here. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. That's an okay one. Okay. And let's go. And Caster's staff doing the same. If it were just Caster, I'd just assume it was a spell, though. No, it's nothing. Sorry to startle you. I wasn't startled. Sorry. Words of apology came out so easily. Words? For the hour or so that we've been together, I hadn't been able to make a proper proposal. Grape had revealed a little bit about her goals. Told me that our destinations and goals were probably similar, and there she was walking beside me, staying silent. I found myself faintly hoping that she might keep accompanying me like this no matter where I went. I was taking advantage of, or maybe clinging to, what was most likely her kindness. But that wouldn't do. Even a cowardly, pessimistic person like me understood that much. I needed to recognize how far we could go by working together. I didn't have the combat skills necessary to survive a labyrinth where phantasmals and chimeras could attack at any moment, but she had almost no knowledge of how to navigate the labyrinth. Somehow we just kept walking. I was lost the entire time. I should have been confirming our goals, then formally, so weird the tense here. I should have been confirming our goals, and maybe we'll say, then I could have formally asked, right? Because we're doing like past tense here. Past tense of a possible future, right? I don't know what I'm gonna be real, guys. I'm an English teacher. I don't know half the tenses. Like, I can say them, and if you were to ask me if a tense is correct, I could tell you it's not. But like, I don't know the names of them. People are like, is this past participle? Is this future imperfect? I don't know. I should have been confirming our goals. Then I could have formally asked Gray to accompany, like, because it's talking about a potential future that you should have done, right? Or something that you, well, oh, is it saying like okay, we just kept walking. I should have done this. Then I could have. Oh, no, it's still saying, right? That makes sense. Yeah. It was that simple. But I was scared. So scared. What if that wish wasn't granted? What if she left me alone in this crystalline space? I found myself thinking about those lines. No, obsessing over the idea. That's why I was afraid. Couldn't bring myself to talk. I just wish there was some kind of trigger for it. Then I'd definitely be able to. Inwardly, I prayed for something to happen. I'd already asked God for so much, so I prayed to something else instead. I thought of those few shimmering things I'd glimpsed in the sea of Manaka's memory. The gentle dragon that stood alone. The light that shone at the very end. This is talking about Rongominion. Yeah, so someone pointed that out. And the place that felt like the end of felt like the darkness of the universe, yet also the ultimate radiance. For a moment, I had the feeling that someone was softly whispering in my ear, as if it was telling me that I shouldn't make such a simple request. Since that certainly wouldn't have been Gray, I shuddered. I wondered if it came from some demonic beast or ghost set up to eliminate intruders. I stopped, turned around, and then my stomach growled. I don't know how to make that noise. So small it sounded like the cry of a small animal. Echo! Echo! As if it wasn't embarrassing enough, the crystal walls echoed with the sound. My cheeks flushed. Without stopping, I turned beet red all the way to the tips of my ears. As timid and uncourageous as I was usually able to endure embarrassment, but now of all times, I just couldn't bear it. Come to think of it, Norma, I haven't eaten since we became trapped here. A lifeline, I guess. I whipped my head around toward her and our gazes met. Correction, it felt like they did. In reality, I couldn't see her eyes through her hood. So is the implication, and I don't know because I haven't read the El Malloy stuff, is the implication that her hood legitimately covers her in a way that most people can't see her face? Like, we can, because we are, playing, we're watching the thing or playing it, we want to see her face. But is the implication that, is it like a mystic code that properly hides her face? Because that would explain a lot. And that, I'm honestly so interested in other characters meeting her, just to be like, you look just like her. Like, I know Shiro appears in some of the El Malloy novels, which, boy, like I said, I do want to, like, read them one day. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff in them that, they've been going on for a while, but it's just, they are a bit of a time sink for the future, right? Anyways. Couldn't see her eyes through her hood anyway. I'd made up my mind. I was drowning, so I grabbed the life preserver. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I stopped in my tracks. So did she. Huh? In that case, I guess we should eat, I stammered, barely able to finish the sentence. I suppose so, she nodded. My exposed face was still beet red, but I looked down to hide it. I set the exploration bag from my waist down on the ground and opened it. That's a period there. It was secured by 2 sturdy clasps. I'd heard that some explorers locked theirs with a kind of mystic lock, but mine wasn't like that. Anyone could open it. I didn't want to die. I had no intention of doing so, but just in case. I did this so that my companions or anyone else who might come along and find my body later could take my gear and supplies. It would be impressive if I could call it my own idea, but unfortunately it wasn't. I was just following what my family taught itself for generations. I opened my bag. I always had emergency rations. And a water bottle. Hydration. How much had my thought processes been dulled until then? I was getting totally nervous. I'd totally forgotten how important it was for the human body to drink water at regular intervals, which is a good moment for you guys to remember. Hashtag HydroHomies. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. It's hot, but it's so good. And you should also drink some water too. Want some water, Gray? Yes, I'd love some. Thank you. I'll give you one of my bottles. I still have 3 left, so let me know if you run out. Okay. Right in front of me, Gray took out a silver stainless steel water bottle. Wait, or she took, okay, right. She took a sip right away. Her throat made a cute little gulp noise. Something occurred to me. Was water really necessary for a heroic spirit to maintain its ethereal body? Saber had been replenishing nutrients as needed, but she had special circumstances that set her apart from other servants. It'd be unreasonable to treat her as the standard for heroic spirits. My experience watching Manaka and Saber search probably wouldn't be useful here. Huh? pondering the question while rummaging through my bag, I found something. With my senses of vision and touch, I confirmed the existence of something that couldn't have possibly been there. Not in the compartment meant for various mystic codes and catalysts, nor in the section where a variety of supplies were stored. Rather, it sat there as if it belonged there, right alongside the rest of the food rations. Naturally, looking elegant somehow. Right on top of bland rations designed for portability. Manaka's homemade lunch. One of them. Sitting there. Standing among the rest. Again, okay, so I'm assuming that these are all El Malloy stuff. The seventh labyrinth of Alcatraz claimed the lives of its intruders without relent. As previously mentioned, our prevailing theory is that its structure is based on the planetary magic square. Needless to say, the planetary magic square was proposed by a magus from the 16th century named Agrippa. The magic squares, which incorporates ideas from Kabbalah, are associated with the planets of the solar system. This labyrinth is believed to correspond with the sun's magic square. Though our investigation and verification of these ideas is incomplete, it is presumed that each floor has a 6th-tier magic square, particularly a solar square embedded into it. The placements of demonic beasts and chimeras should correspond with points on this square. I conveyed this theory to the disciple who is within the labyrinth now, but it was only a brief explanation as we were traveling, which I intended to expand on in a more detailed explanation later. Okay, well that is so there. So I'm unsure if it was fully understood. Based on this theory, it's possible to consider that Cowbeck Alcatraz, a dungeon master of a caliber that can rarely be seen, constructed this labyrinth with a particular vision in mind. He applied this labyrinth, which is inhabited by so many phantasmals that shouldn't exist in the modern world, to the sun. What did this act signify? The sum of numbers in the solar magic square is 666. I don't need to explain that this is the number of the beast mentioned in the final book of the biblical New Testament. And also Digimon. Remember when Digimon talked about the number of the beast? That was crazy. Though, the prophecy that the certain number describes, okay, cool to bring it up, can also be interpreted as a condemnation of a certain tyrannical emperor. So that's Nero, because, yeah, 666 literally just means, like, if you say it in its original, like, meaning, it is just talking about Nero, right? We still lack sufficient information to assert that this is a complete coincidence. At this stage, all we can do is wait for my disciple to return. What exactly lies in the box of this legendary labyrinth? We need to copy that. And we need to place that. And we put that. Okay. Alright, take another sippy. It's cool now. That's the good stuff. No way. A lunchbox? Is there a problem with lunch? Yes. Well, it's just that it doesn't seem like something like this should be here or something. I blinked a few times and looked at the lunchbox inside of my bag. It wasn't an illusion. It was real. True, come to think of it, I wasn't sure that it was possible. The fact that my exploration bag had returned to my waist, well, a situation with an unknowable principle. Wait, the fact that my exploration bag had returned to my waist was, well, a situation with an unknowable principle. So any of its content, I don't like that well there. Yeah, that's just super confusing. Right? So any of its contents shouldn't have been surprising. Logically speaking, anyway. There was just as much possibility that a bomb was planted inside. Yo, Metal Gear Solid reference? It's gotta be. It's gotta be. Getting the bag later and there's a bomb inside, that's literally Metal Gear. No. If this was a miracle you gave to me, then that probably isn't the case. You made this for Saber, didn't you, Manaka? I muttered under my breath. Manaka had warped space to store various food items and materials in the hem of her dress. One of those items was now inside of my bag. Really, I suppose I should have delivered it to Saber. I was reluctant to touch it, I was hesitant, but I just had to. I wanted to taste what you all got to eat. That fragment of myself in the corner of my body was merely synchronized with my senses of sight and hearing. It was possible to synchronize with my sense of taste to some extent, but I never could have been able to, it never could have been the same as experiencing it with full control of my body. I wanted to properly experience the food that Manaka made now that I had complete awareness. That was my thought on it. Sorry. Pressing my hands together in an Eastern-style gesture. It's so funny, because literally, I know the exact pose she's doing, and it's funny because it's like, why would she do this? She's British. The Brits don't do that, right? But it's I love when they do this in like Fate, where you have the British characters do things that are Japanese and they point it out, right? It's funny. I took the pre-made lunch out of my bag. Manaka's special. You know what? I'm gonna call it Labyrinth style, like that. Except we want it in regular, so let's go. Whoops, no, it's Control Alt V. There we go. Labyrinth style sandwich. You know what? Just for the fun of it, just for a gag. Yeah, there we go. That's fun. Train root sliced into buns. The root is sliced into buns? Oh. Wait. That's crazy. How do you put a root of something into a bun? With thin slices of steamed and seared blueberry thigh meat, leaves and fruit from the creeping plant sandwiched between them. That would be and. I could still remember the flavor from when I synchronized with my senses to taste it. I wanted to confirm it. The texture, the flavor, even the sensation of swallowing after chewing it. Kept at a pleasant temperature with a Kelpie water pouch. The sandwich was refreshingly cool. Oh my god, did she literally make an ice pack? She literally kept an ice pack. They turned the Kelpie's spleen into an ice pack? That's crazy. I'm still wondering about this slicing into buns though. Right? I know what they're saying. You know what? I'm going to editorialize a bit. I don't understand how you could slice it into buns. So let me think here. Like the root, I guess if the root is like spongy, right? Like if you think of it, like if the root of the Treant is spongy, okay, sure, whatever. I was gonna put into like I was gonna go crazy and be like, oh, it's cut up into powdered and then turned into flour and then but then we'd have to bake it into bread, and it's like, you know what, whatever. Let's say they sliced it into buns. Thanks for the food, but I'll save some for Saber. I hoped that I could give her some. I hoped that I could give some to her. I wanted to give some to her. I wanted to tell the King of Knights that her master Manaka was gone. If only I had more courage. If only I had the nerve to speak clearly and coherently. Oh, wow, that looks tasty. You should have some too, Gray. Hold on. Now, hold up. Is his name 1D or 2Ds? Let's go Gray, add Fate. Is it 2? It is. It's 2. Okay. For some reason, I thought his name was 1D. Okay, that makes more sense. The voice came from somewhere near Gray's right hand. That voice. I instinctively turned, locking eyes with the thing inside of her lantern. What was it? Who was it? If it was speaking, did it have a personality? A noble phantasm, a familiar, a mystic code. As I considered the possibilities, I found myself nodding. It was a rectangular box that looked like a bird cage. Okay, no. I don't think it looks like a bird cage. Yeah, no. I don't. Yeah, because it's in a bird cage, right? It was a rectangular box in what looked like a bird cage. Yeah, like that's what it is. Because it's the bird cage. Like it is in a bird cage, but it was a rectangular box, right? It seemed to be decorated with eyes and a mouth. What is that? Or, who? I wonder if Ad was its name. I assumed that he would startle you. I wasn't sure when to explain it to you, she said with a timid look. I tried to nod to show her that I wasn't surprised, but I couldn't help to hide my obvious shock. I read somewhere that if something was capable of fluid natural conversation without a need to rely on voice synthesis, whether it was a phantasmal species or a homunculus, it was proof of... Again, I don't like... I'm gonna double check. Because in Fate, we do use... Yeah, like... The homunculus is the original spelling, but Hamun is the one they use in Fate, so we're gonna go with that spelling. Even though the Amon is the correct, like, classical spelling, but, you know, if we're talking about the actual way Fate uses them, even for just the generic blobby ones, yeah. It was proof of advanced intelligence. I think it was in my grandfather's library somewhere. That might not have been where I read it, I can't remember right now. As expected of a heroic spirit. Even the things she owned were on another level. Even if I'd anticipated it, actually seeing it in front of me was something else entirely. It's fine if we're taking a break, right? Or it's fine if we're taking a break, right? Yeah, it's okay. I heard his voice earlier anyway. You say that, but you're looking pretty pale. That's not a question, that's a statement. What's the matter? This place is packed full of monsters, and this is what makes you timid? That's pretty funny, kiddo. Beep. The force of his voice made my body stiffen up involuntarily. It's fine, it's fine. I'm not scared. I'm not gonna be scared. I'm fine now. His words were daily friendly. I'm gonna say that's probably meant to be fairly. I had to give it a proper reply. If he was a highly intelligent being, then I remembered that time. The Sphinx had spoke directly into my mind to pose a deadly riddle. One of the few moments in my life where I was able to muster my courage. I could do it. In this situation, at such a critical moment, I would give an intelligent response intelligent enough that I wouldn't be mocked. It talks? Nope, absolutely not. Duh, of course I talk. You should be more concerned about the way she barely talks at all. Wait, let me explain. Putting it simply, I'm a mystic code, an extra special mystic code at that. I'm Gray's guardian. See? Feels weird being the one to say it, but a box that can talk this much is definitely a rare find. Guardian. A slightly dissatisfied... Or, guardian. Oh, that's her. Guardian. A slightly dissatisfied voice drifted out from under her hood. You see, this place is really something else. Between those man-eating fairies and your, of all things, sandwiches, I might not have to worry about food after all. Before we rolled down here, I hadn't really encountered any monsters, so I was really starving. Food? I definitely heard that. No doubt the man-eating... mean-eating? The man-eating fairies had to be the ones with the vertical mouths from earlier. The monsters that attacked me. He referred to them as food. Huh? What's with that look? Oh, Ad feeds on magical energy. He has that function. Is that right? Amazing. I really thought it was amazing. I'm sure that she was referring to the absorption of magical energy through contact or destruction. The immediate replenishment of magical energy is said to be an eternal challenge for magi who perform magecraft using limited reserves of odd within the human body. In most cases, they resort to replenishing their magical energy through mystic codes. The crystals that Manaka created and showed off in the first room of the first floor were typically produced and used for that purpose. I had also heard of magecraft that involved imbuing large amounts of magical energy into gemstones. But to actually absorb magical energy from a target as if preying on it, it was almost like a certain kind of phantasmal species. And of course, it was like a servant. The heroic spirits that manifested under the subspecies Holy Grail's influence were capable of replenishing their magical energy by devouring souls. In the context of the Holy Grail War, or subspecies Holy Grail War, they used this to draw magical energy from the things that had it. Oh, draw magical energy from things that had magical energy, including mystic codes, but here was a mystic code capable of doing it on his own, right in front of me. Maybe that wasn't so unusual since he was a heroic spirit's equipment? How long you gonna space out like that? Hey, a kid! Right, yes, sorry, Gray, should we eat? Yes. Thank you for the food. I clasped my hands together and did the Eastern food thing. Eastern food ritual. You know what? That's funny. Eastern food ritual thing that Manaka used to do. That was a mistake for my reading, but it just sounded so natural that it really works out there. Thank you for the food. Gray did the same. I wonder if she was imitating me. Inside a crystal cave that shimmered with blue light, the two of us, Gray and myself, took bites of our sandwiches. Just as I thought. It was delicious. It wasn't just not bad, it was fantastic. I'd realized that the sensation I'd gotten from synchronized with Manaka as she ate it was only about 20% of the true feeling. The fruit was juicier than a tomato, and the leaves had an even more crisp, refreshing texture than lettuce would have, and the blueberry meat, which was once so tough, was so tender it practically melted on my tongue. And then there was the slices of the treant root. Okay, here we go. With a texture like Japanese mochi. Okay, so it is like a gummy sort of texture. I can sort of see how that could be like the bread. Okay. The flavor changed with every bite. I don't know if I'd like that personally. I think that's kind of weird. I ignored the nagging feeling that it was causing some kind of dangerous mystical reaction within me. Manaka's home-cooked meal was so good that it made me let out a sigh of joy. Delicious. Or delicious, Gray murmured after she took a bite. A gentle voice, like a sigh of relief. She stared intently at the sandwich in her hands, examining it with great interest. After a moment, I sensed her glancing my way a few times. I still couldn't make out her eyes because of her hood, but she seemed to be on the verge of speaking. Tasty, huh? Thank you. I found myself feeling happy about it, as if it were my own achievement. How should I put it? The one who made the sandwich was no longer in this world. How should I express this? No, I can't. I can't say it. I was hiding Manaka's existence from Gray. Since I'd chosen to hide it, I had no choice but to cover it up. Living alongside a heroic spirit that, in theory, shouldn't have required an intake of food, Manaka was forced to secure ingredients and cook for Saber, but handled the task effortlessly. Wait, something was off with that explanation. Heroic spirits, servants, beings with temporary bodies composed of ether. Without normal life functions, they operate on magical energy. Come to think of it, Gray, Yes. Even though you're a servant, you get hungry, don't you? Just like Saber. Saber? Right. You don't seem to have as big an appetite as the lovely King of Knights, though. I almost said it. I brought everything to a complete halt. Eating, conversation, blinking, even my breathing stopped for a few seconds. The Ashen Girl had also frozen solid. There was no way she could have missed it. There it was. I should have known that I'd slipped up if I kept talking. It was the height of carelessness. What else could I call it? That I was involved with the subspecies Holy Grail War, that I already knew Saber. I've been trying to hide these facts, but I let them slip so easily, so casually. What now? How was I supposed to cover it up? Or maybe... No. Just tell her everything. The illusion of someone whispering in my ear. I think I began to nod involuntarily. Right, since I'd already brought it up, telling her the whole story made the most sense. Sense. Logic. Though I wasn't sure if I had any of it left in me. I, Norma Goodfellow, scolded myself as I parted my lips. I'm sorry. There's something I haven't told you. I scolded myself. For my foolishness in exposing my secret so pathetically? No. For my carelessness in chatting on and on? No, that wasn't it. I scolded myself for ever doubting this Ashen Girl who tasted the food I offered her without hesitation and even told me that it was delicious. For being afraid of her. For not fully trusting her, even though she had laid bare the nature of her mystic code that could speak. Even if I couldn't measure up to heroic spirits. Even if I wasn't a shining figure among them, even if I was nowhere near to being capable of great deeds like staring down monsters or saving people, to those who'd offered me their goodwill, at the very least I wanted to return something of equal value, even if I'd be killed as a result. It was scary. I didn't like it. I was sure that I'd end up trembling pitifully. But I guess it can't be helped. After all, Gray and Ad already saved me once. Fixing up my throat. Anyways. Oh, we're back with their perspective? Right before the eyes of the four heroic spirits, Seijo Manaka vanished. Then, a trap was sprung, and the girl was gone. Listing them this way may suggest a causal link between the two events. While the former may have been the cause of the latter was not necessarily related to the former. The four servants, in a temporary alliance, shared this understanding. First, Manaka vanished. The lovely girl in the emerald dress disappeared. Or perhaps it was more apt to say that she was transformed. The girl who fell into the trap and plummeted deeper underground was someone else. Manaka, the magus who clearly possessed a command spell that made her Saber's master, had indeed vanished before the trap was activated. They considered the possibility that her disappearance was caused by mystic interference from some enemy, a phantasmal or chimera, or something of that nature, or the activation of another trap, but they had yet to arrive at any definitive conclusion. More than an hour had passed since the girl vanished. The four servants had no choice but to decide on their next course of action, namely to search for Seijo Manaka. If they wanted to make full use of Saber, who had the greatest ability in sustained combat, her master would have been indispensable. This made their objective natural. Also, a vision of a crystallized cave had entered Saber's mind immediately after the trap was activated, which served as a decisive clue. Which of them had suggested that the vision was a distress signal from Manaka, a variant of wordless communication that a master and their contracted heroic spirit could exchange? When asked if that meant actual words wouldn't have been able to get through, Saber shook her head. There wouldn't have been a response, even if she called out. Either way, our goal's the same, boss. That is the nature of this place. There is nothing to be done. Archer and Assassin led the way through a dimly lit passageway as they spoke. There was no change in their activity. It was a simple continuation of their exploration of the labyrinth. The heroic spirits had learned from the subspecies Holy Grail that the fourth floor was the final one. And yet it was clear that Manaka, or rather the person who had been her up until just moments ago, had fallen below. That's correct. Were there deeper floors than the fourth, or was it just a trap meant to kill with the impact of the fall? Wait, what were there deeper floors than the fourth, or was it just a trap meant to kill her with the impact of the fall or with blades and spells at the bottom? Okay, well that's a question there. That was unclear. The only thing guaranteeing that the person who was Manaka, and yet wasn't, was still alive, was that Saber, who could only exist in the material world because she had a master, had yet to vanish. Though the King of Knights had said that the bond should have been maintained... King of Knights had said that the bond which should have been maintained by her command spell had weakened to the point that it was nearly non-existent. The vision from immediately after she disappeared. That was the only clue they had left. Wouldn't it just be quicker to destroy the ground just one level at a time using Magecraft or Saber's Noble Phantasm? Who's speaking here? Oh, this is Saber and Caster, because that's Caster there. That would be far too dangerous. If we end up destroying Master along with it, there would be no point. True, though that does assume that the girl is still your master. I know. Sparks flew between Saber and Caster, invisible to the untrained eye. How many times had this happened? In the past hour alone, Archer had seen a tense exchange like this at least 3 times. Oh, come on, he sighed, shrugging his shoulders. The brute force approach of destroying the 4th floor with a noble phantasm or grand magecraft to reach a lower level had been proposed several times now, but was always rejected by a counter-argument from Saber. Assassins seemed to be hinting at opposing it as well. As expected, There was no other option but to explore until they could find and rescue her. The four of them, at least, had not chosen another course. Oh, we're getting further and further away from where she fell, aren't we? Oh, wait, no. We're getting, it's so, okay. These are always tough because they don't say who they are until it's, like, way later, so I have to look down to see. So, we're getting further and further away from where she fell, aren't we? Regardless, we have no choice but to search this floor as thoroughly as we can, for the time being. All right. You're a pretty honorable guy, assassin. We can hardly allow an innocent girl to fall prey to a monster, can we? You think so? Archer shrugged. How can you tell she was innocent? We only saw her for a second. The white masked figure gave no response, gazing straight ahead. Without any complacency, without any arrogance, he had a compelling reason for this. Their group was lacking something essential. Each of them surely realized that Monaka's absence had caused a decisive drop in the efficiency of their coordination. In terms of performance in battle, Castor could handle any of the magecraft that Monaka once provided, but what they lacked was the buffer that connected the four of them, who had their own distinct personalities and traits. At times, she would evaluate each of them with a smile, at others she would lighten the mood with a joke or some innocent teasing. Just how effective were these simple things? Becoming a search party, these great supernatural heroic spirits could barely function as a unit. After all, they simply had fundamentally different stances toward the subspecies Holy Grail. In particular, Saber and Castor simply didn't get along well. It wouldn't be long until a full-scale clash broke out between them. Walking through the silent corridors of the Labyrinth, disarming and evading traps as they searched room after room, defeating endless waves of hostile entities, occasionally discovering mystic codes that they could replenish their magical energy with, the four continued onward. Exhausted from repeated battles, their supply of restorative mystic codes was critically lacking. In particular, it was virtually impossible to compensate for Saber's consumption of magical energy. The advantage that having a master once gave her had, for the time being, been lost. Unfortunately, it does seem that Monaka must be dead, Saber. You have no proof. Enough putting on a brave face. You have an impressive noble phantasm, but you surely lack the magical energy needed for a true name release. I wonder how much longer you'll be able to remain materialized. Silence, Castor. Words sharper than any blade echoed through the corridor. The King of Knights' reply seemed as if it would be the signal for a full-scale subspecies Holy Grail war to resume. Well, I'm starting to hit my limit, the bowman muttered in a voice only the assassin could hear. Then the group arrived in a space unlike any they'd seen thus far. It seemed more like a natural cave than the artificial one. But the ground, walls, ceiling, every surface had been turned into crystals imbued with magical energy. The whole cave had a faint glow, giving enough light to see clearly without the need of an illumination spell. It was a true crystalline cavern, like the little lady sent to you, right? Yes, I wonder. Hey boss, you're acting kinda suspicious again. With the number of sloped passageways that we've passed through, it was easy to imagine that this lower section did exist somewhere on the 4th floor, and in that case, we have no reason to doubt. What's the deal then? That means we cannot be certain she's arrived safely, Archer. Oh, right. Before their eyes, the space was so vast that they could forget they were in the labyrinth, on a scale different from even the grand halls where bosses awaited them on the floors thus far, so vast that a sky was all it would have taken for them to mistake it for the outside world. Something was there within it. A colossal mass filled the space, an enemy without a doubt. Fortifications beyond even a fortress, scorching heat beyond even a wildfire, frenzy beyond even a raging beast, imbued with mystery, with the mystery and might of a phantasmal species, with all the biological traits from several species of chimera, as emotionless as an automata, repelling all forms of mental manipulation. It was an entity oriented for combat alone. Limbs covered in thicker, harder armor than any they'd seen, and a single long neck. Indeed, it was the second artificial dragonkin to appear in the labyrinth. Its name was Dragon Golem, or perhaps Dragondyne. Okay, that's kind of a sick name. It's kind of a cool name. It had similarities with the boss of the third floor, but it was vastly different. First, the physique. It was a magnitude larger, 20 meters in length. Then there was its magical energy. The crimson light flickering on its chest suggested a scale of magical energy that the prior specimen could never hope to compare to. There must have been an extremely large magical energy reactor operating within it. Furthermore, its heads. Two identical dragon heads. In ancient times, it would have been described as a monstrous serpent. I'll just add an "and" there. And in medieval Europe, it would have been known as Amphisbaenia? What is that? I'm Googling this. What the heck is that? I look it up, and it is a... Oh! So it's... Okay. Amphisbaenia is a double-headed lizard from Dungeons and Dragons, but it's like one on its head and one on its tail. Like it's like an, or you know, like Ouroboros. Imagine Ouroboros, but both sides of Ouroboros are kissing each other. That's what it would be like. Hold up, is it real? Why is it showing it in like Africa? What? Wait. Is one of the many snakes encountered by Lucian and his army in the deserts of Libya. Wait, is this real? Wait, no. Oh, it's folklore. Okay. The website made it sound like... Okay, so it was reported back then. Okay. Huh. There is a real species of it, but for the most part, it is imagine a double-headed snake. It is a Dungeons and a Dragon. Okay. That's okay. Would say it would, right? It'd be described as a monstrous serpent. It would have been, you know what? Instead of it would have been it will say it was called right? Yeah. In ancient times, it would have been described as a monstrous serpent, and in medieval Europe, it was called. Well, it's saying that like it's not like this one wasn't, but it would have been. Called, right? It would have been called. That's what, yeah. It would have been called an Amphisbaenia. The magical energy imbued with each of its sharp fangs was nearly on par with a true dragonkin's. Most likely, much of its skeleton, including its skull, have been made from the remains of a genuine dragonkin. Oh! Okay, so... It's not double-headed like a snake there, but it is it's just a big double-headed dragon. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty good design. I like it. I suppose this must be the final obstacle. Saber was... oh, are my eyes broken again? Uh-oh. There we go. Well, I think... You know what? I gotta change the... Because it's control and left and right, which I think I use when I'm editing, so I need to change it there. Or just disable it. I don't think I ever use that. I suppose this must be the final obstacle. Saber was already in the lead. Caster also stopped firing provocations from her lips, and began to weave words that sounded like an incantation. A defensive reinforcement spell was cast on each of the 4 servants. She's literally buffing the party. It was ancient magecraft that not only increased their endurance parameter, but also worked as a protective barrier that could absorb battle damage to a certain extent. In other words, she cast invisible armor woven from intangible magical energy. Okay, so she used Big Guard. Okay. This isn't gonna happen, the bowman said. That should be a comma. The bowman said, twisting his mouth into a sneer. Skip your sarcasm. This thing has 2 or 3 magical energy reactors within it and can still move without self-destructing. I don't like fighting things without beauty. So what, was the spell just a placebo? Think whatever you wish. Many thanks. For someone with defenses as lacking as mine. Wait. Cutting through all their sarcasm. Oh, this is... Wait, so this is saying... Assassin dissolved into the air, cutting through... Oh, no, so this is all them... Okay, I see. Right, many thanks. For someone with defenses lacking as mine, this is as good as having the aid of an army. Cutting through all their sarcasm, Assassin dissolved into the air. Yeah, they're having sarcasm, and he just, whoop, gets out of there. Visual, thermal, auditory, magical energy, or any sensory organ or device. Right? It's just saying, like, his presence concealment rendered him invisible to all forms of detection. No matter how advanced the machinery or how sophisticated the detection spell, it was impossible to track his movements in this state. Though the ability would deactivate if he entered a combat-ready stance, unless they were a servant that specialized in close-quarters combat, any enemy would be unable to dodge a surprise attack from point-blank range. We're counting on you, boss. Archer left only his voice behind. Folklore Defense, a skill activated as an effect of his noble phantasm. The principal nature of the skill was different from presence concealment, which made one's presence invisible. The skill made the user's form vanish and destroyed a target from... Oh, yeah, okay. It destroyed its target from beyond its field of perception. Wait, what? It's saying made the user's form vanish. I think it's saying, like so it can destroy a target from beyond its field of perception, right? So because it's not saying like the folklore defense doesn't, right? Like it doesn't do damage on its own, but you could, right? When combined with another noble phantasm, it could boast unparalleled strength against biological opponents. However, the 2-headed dragon golem that shook the crystalline cavern with his mighty breath was not a living being. At best, all he could do was hold it off. But that role was of the utmost importance. No matter how incredibly powerful Saber's trump card, her holy sword, might have been, he needed enough time for her to activate it. These roles fell perfectly into place previously. It was the optimal solution for these 4 servants. But what about the 2-headed dragon? Would this combination of protection spells and range attacks create an opening in the Dragon Goal's defenses? Question mark. The answer was no. Is that a projection of magical energy? Oh, that's the noise it made? Strange. I guess it's a golem. So I guess it's like... Uh-oh. It's happening again. Okay. I'm going to disable that next time. That is a strange thing for the golem to say, but it's a golem, so I guess it makes sense. Projection of magical energy spewed from the 2 heads intermittently. In other words, like heat ray? Laser breath? By activating its 3 magical energy reactors in parallel, a massive output of magical energy was converted into beams of light that swept through its surroundings. The angle of fire was, in truth, a full 360 degrees. Because they had no particular target, the bands of light freely fired up while maximizing the 2-headed dragon's existing advantage, rained down upon the 4 servants in the form of a violent storm. Like a thick, blinding sword of light, several meters in diameter, being swung about with complete freedom of movement. Whether or not they could evade the attack, which was now the level of a natural disaster, depended on luck alone. Gah! Scorched by the flash of light, the vanished assassin was forced to reveal himself. A flashy landing, that is correct, onto the crystallized ground below. The massive metallic leg, swung down to deliver the finishing blow, was blocked by Saber, who used an explosive momentum to close in. I don't think you need an. You just say used explosive momentum to close in. Holding her holy sword above her overhead with both hands, she parried the stomp's immense mass by sliding the blade along its surface. Facing the dragon golem, with its slightly faltering posture, the King of Knights retreated with assassin cradled in one arm. He's a big guy, that's kind of crazy. Behind her, Castor had already deployed a defensive barrier specialized against magical energy. You expect me to handle this alone? His voice ringing out, Archer fired an arrow from some unseen place. He aimed for the sensory organs on the dragon golem's head, but the intense remnants of magical energy leaking from its core in the form of heat effortlessly vaporized a speeding arrow in midair. Well, there you have it. Look at the tongue. And then, you know what? Nah, it's okay. I was going to add a TSK in there, but that's fine. He says it there. And then a flash of light sliced through the space where the sound came from. This thing's trouble. Feels like it's going to pick off a few of us, right? Maybe so. Blocking the two-headed dragon's breath, which shot out again and again with a barrier. Continuing to respond by creating one new barrier after another each time they were destroyed, Castor nodded. With a sinister grin that seemed to foreshadow a particular conclusion. Saber's noble phantasm is our last resort. Honestly, there's no way that she can use it anymore, is there? That prediction, expectation, prophecy. If it were true, then the four of them would have no hope of victory. Or perhaps... Back to Norma. Even... You know what? Okay, drink time. Let's do that there. Okay. Even if I can't be like a hero, right when I've come to terms with something, I'll muster up the courage. For example, like right now, Norma Goodfellow, continued talking to Gray about the subspecies Holy Grail War, about the Labyrinth, everything I knew, all that I'd gathered through the eyes and ears of my body under Manaka's control. I wasn't killed. No, Gray didn't kill me. In fact, she didn't show any sign of anger. She even told me that it was unavoidable since neither of us knew the other's true identities, so she may have done the same thing if she were in my position. Ad shouted, "You should have told us that from the start," and I apologized profusely. I do not wish to fight a servant. Her straightforward reply seemed to show that she was looking out for me. I had no intention of fighting those four either, so even if I told her everything, she wouldn't use it to eliminate them. I understood that was Gray's implication. I nodded, took a deep breath, and went on. I would tell her what I saw from my perspective. Summoning Saber. Being under the possession of Seijio Manaka. Am I crazy or is that not spelled right? Seijo. It is JY. I don't know why in my brain it was YJ. Because I say Seijo, but it's Seijio. Okay, that's my pronunciation thing. Summoning Saber, being under some sort of possession by Seijio Manaka, many monsters we encountered, golems, kelpies, insect swarms, automata, and a variety of chimeras. It's funny because, like, these are just all FGO things. A creature modeled after a dragonkin. You actually gotta fight something that awesome? That's crazy. Ad and I both sensed it through the fluctuations in magical energy, but I didn't realize it was that extreme. What a waste! If I knew there were mountains of food out there, I would have quit lagging behind and caught up with them. I would have wanted to run laps around those four. You would have died in a trap. I know, but still. The reaction seemed a bit too innocent for an embodiment of the supernatural like a heroic spirit. Among the heroes of human history on the throne, the closer they were to the modern era, the further they drifted from the age of mystery and fantasy. So it wasn't surprising that some of them may have never encountered a monster in their lifetimes. Gray must have been one of them. If I had lost my command spells when, it's a lowercase, what a rare treat. When Manaka disappeared, would I have been able to grasp her and Ad's capabilities more clearly using the basic abilities of a master? I couldn't say. For the time being, I'd stopped making pointless assumptions. Right. I think it's dangerous to go alone. I nodded and said, I think we were only able to handle all those dangers because we had four heroic spirits temporarily united as one party. Manaka also said that Saber was superior to the rest, but she still figured it would be difficult to reach the final floor alone. The heroic spirit of the sword? Yes. I nodded again, paused for a moment, then spoke. I told her everything I had witnessed. The heroic spirit of the sword, a legendary hero of the highest degree, worthy of manifesting as the most powerful class of servant. A hero I was familiar with as someone born and raised in Britain, but that was what gave me such an awe toward her. Such awe toward her, yeah. The King of Knights, who vanquished many foreign enemies and even repelled the Roman Empire on some occasions. In the world of magecraft, she was known as the wielder of the holy sword of the planet, as well as the wielder of the holy spear that, oh, I wonder who that's, oh, you don't know how close you are to that spear right now. The holy spear that vanquished Sir Mordred, her final enemy and great betrayer. The words carved on her tombstone read, the once and future King of Britain. Her true name was Arthur Pendragon? Thunk. Her emotions fell away. There was not a single trace of color in the girl's voice. A tone so devoid of feeling that I was certain her expression had vanished as well. That was when I realized it for the first time. They may have been obscured by her hood, but Gray's eyes, with their ashen hue, somehow had a similar shade to the King of Knights' own. Beautiful. Lovely. They had a fragment of the same brilliance she did. Are we actually going to have them meet? That'll be super cool if that's the case. I'm excited for that. Well, guys, thank you all for listening. And next time, I'm pretty sure it's the finale, right? Because 114. We have Act 6. Oh, well, we have epilogue. I don't know how long the epilogue is. Right? So we'll see. It might not be the finale. We might save the epilogue. If it's like actual epilogue length where it's just like super short, then we'll just do it all together. But otherwise, it might be 2 videos, but it'll probably be 1. I'm going to assume it's 1. You know, well, it's 40 pages left. It might not be. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you all for watching, guys. We'll see you next time for some more Fate Labyrinth. Ciao.
Yo.